well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phone with Dr. Zainab Nawar, Professor of Economy. Good afternoon, Dr. Nawar.
Good afternoon, my dear.
Dr. Nawar, could you give us your insight concerning the international press conference that was held by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Mbouli in order to review Cairo's vision over the global economic crisis?
Yes, what I do see from this speech and also from the different messages that the Prime Minister is trying to give us through his speech and through the main highlights that he made about the more and the recent advancements of the Egyptian economy and what had been achieved and what we are now. Actually, it is very transparent in terms that he shedded a light about the current crisis that we do have worldwide, which is not an easy crisis and which is very unique crisis because we are coming out from what we can call post-COVID-19, and then all the worldwide economies, they were all working on the recovery, and we used to talk about the recovery and how to once again obtain the different markets and how the supply chain would start to work. And then we started to have another crisis, which is the Russia-Ukraine war. So we are in a very unique and we are in a very hard situation in terms of economic and also financial challenges that the world is facing. And of course, we are in Egypt, we are facing right now. But what I do see that different measures that the government had taken recently had made a lot of differences. I mean, a lot of reforms, a lot of measures that had been done even before Corona and in the time of Corona and now in the time of the crisis of Russia-Ukraine war. These all had been worked or in a percentage to lessen the effects of the current crisis that we are having right now. The main thing that actually we had worked on, and we were very brilliant in actually the work of the small and medium enterprises and encouraging the local investors, because if we are now in this crisis, we would like to look internally and what we do have in terms of internal resources and internal type of production, and to start to boost the work of the private sector and the work of the small enterprises, at least to guarantee a certain amount of production inside Egypt without getting or without importing more products and importing more inflation coming into our country. So I think that the measures that have been taken throughout the years since 2016 and go on into what we do have now, I think it has been worked and it worked actually to lessen or to decrease the effect of the current crisis. What we are facing now in Egypt, it's not an easy challenges. A lot of measures that still we need to work on. We still need to support the private sector more and more. We still need to do more to at least guarantee that the market is working in what we can say in a sustainable way. And we want to create this type of balance in dealing with this international crisis.
Yes, so Dr. Nawar, also the Premier also spoke about the inflation that has become an international challenge also in developed countries, adding that inflation rates grew to a record of 9% worldwide. What's your comment?
Yes, unfortunately, the inflation rate that we are now witnessing worldwide as a result of the war, and also as a result that we are just coming out from Corona and we were in the stages of recovery, and that the world economically had just witnessed this high rate of this high inflation rate because of this war, and because we are talking about Russia. We talk about a huge economy with huge resources, which used to export a lot of natural resources worldwide. So we have like what we can say, we have like some sort of crisis, and this had led to the high inflation rate. So what each and every country is taking now is to deal with type of high inflation rate by doing and working on certain measures. And what we had done here in Egypt related to the interest rates, related also to lessen the amount of imports and doing some sort of procedures just to decrease the amount of imports coming from out there. to decrease the amount of inflation that we may import as a result of the high importation, or as a result of importation from out there. So each and every country is trying to work on certain and different measures that suit each country, just to lessen this huge amount of inflation. Why? Inflation is not good either for the customers or for the producers. For consumers, of course, it's a problem for us, and also for production and producers, it's a crisis. So this is what we had done recently in Egypt. We had dealt smartly with the high inflation rate with using certain measures. And what we would need in future is to depend more on our internal resources and our internal local and Egyptian manufacturers, and looking what we do have in terms of natural resources, so we can stop importing whatever that we don't need to import to lessen this huge inflation rate. So once again, it's steps and it's measures, and it will take some time to decrease furthermore the inflation rate.
Yes, so Dr. Nawar, through your words, you were speaking about the inflation. You've mentioned the coronavirus. How do you see Egypt dealing with the coronavirus crisis and all the steps that Egypt have taken in order to face this challenge?
Yes, of course. In dealing with coronavirus, we were one of the top that we had dealt with the crisis in an excellent way in terms of all the packages and subsidies that the government had given to the different economic sectors, and also what we had done in terms of giving some sort of more subsidies to the consumers about the deferment of payment of credit, and also what we had done in terms of the vaccination and also as the medical care for those who were infected. No, of course, we are here in Egypt. And the Egyptian government had dealt smartly with the crisis. So I think that part of the measures that had been taken in COVID-19, I think maybe it would have supported by a little amount dealing with the current crisis that we do have now, because what the current crisis we have now, it needed further or different types of measures to be dealt with. But our efficient use of resources and our economic growth that we had achieved throughout the crisis of Corona, we were one of the few economies worldwide that we had achieved a positive economic growth. So yes, you can imagine that if we didn't have this positive economic growth along the time of Corona, and then we are facing another crisis now, so I think that we would not be in this state that we are now if we didn't take a proper measurement in the time of Corona, and if we didn't work consistently to achieve a positive economic growth rate in the time of Corona.
Yes, so Dr. Nawar, also Dr. Madbouli spoke about the continuation of the Russia-Ukraine war and the repercussions of this on the global supply chains.
Of course, what this war has created, if you talk about the supply chain, if you talk about the way that the product and production is moving worldwide between different continents and between different countries. So we first stage, we had this type of problem in the supply chain once we had Corona, and now we are talking about China, one of the hub economies, and had been affected and all of the lockdown that had been occurred. So there was a first phase of disturbance in the supply chain. Unfortunately, we have again a second phase of disturbance of supply chain and the move of production and the move of products worldwide, and even this type of movement of products from different maritime agencies, from different exporters, importers, brokers. So unfortunately, the second phase, we are talking about Russia, one of the huge economies worldwide. They are exporting a huge amount of natural resources and important raw material to the rest of the world. One of the main exporter of raw material to the rest of the world, and one of the main exporter to fuel and energy resources also to Europe and to the rest of the world. So you can imagine how the worldwide agencies and worldwide economies and countries are looking for different resources. And of course, if we're talking about the sanctions on Russia, So all of these disturbances that we are seeing worldwide, it means there's a huge disturbance in the product and production movement and production way of and techniques of manufacturing. So all of this in a mess to some extent. So you can imagine the crisis or the huge amount of challenges that we are facing right now.
Yes, I thank you very much for your valuable information. Also, thank you for joining us over the phone, Dr. Zainab Nawar, Professor of Economy. Well, a short break, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to be back with you.